Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode we're going to add a magnet cleaner to the Idiot Proof reef tank, keeping it as clean as possible. So I thought I'd check out the Flipper Nano. Alright, so since setting up the Idiot Proof reef tank, I've just had this little magnet cleaner in there. It's called a Waze, and it's just this little nano thing that I'd picked up in a tank shutdown bulk lot. It's a pretty nifty little magnet cleaner. It's very, very slimline, very small, but as a result, it's not the strongest thing ever. And now that we've got a little bit of life happening in that Idiot Proof reef tank, we're starting to get some decent crud building up on the glass, and the Waze just isn't cutting it. So I'd be cleaning the glass with it, and basically I'd have to take the cover off, get the blade on a stick and get in there and get the bits that the little Waze couldn't get. So I figured that's a bit of a foolish game, and it's also probably not fair for those following at home who are setting up an Idiot-proof reef tank for me to say, yeah, I'm using this magnet cleaner. I have no idea how much it costs and no idea where to buy it. So I was at my local fish shop and I was chatting to the owner there, and he recommended the Flipper Nano. Now, what got me a little bit intrigued is I hear a lot of people talking about Flipper magnet cleaners, and I've never used one. I'm a big advocate of the mag float system. I use the extra large mag floats on most of my big tanks. But their nano versions weren't as good, I feel. They were still fairly bulky, and to get one with a blade, which I do love blades in my magnet cleaners, was going to be a pretty big magnet for very small glass. So my local fish shop recommended this Flipper Nano, and I thought, what an opportunity to just get it out, show you what you get in there, get some measurements for you, and we'll see how it operates in the tank itself. Alright, here it is, the unboxing, or the depackaging, I guess we'll call it. We've got some features and tips and things on the back. But, you know, like most red-blooded males, I'm going to rip the packaging open and throw the instructions away and then scramble to find them later, because that's just what we do. Now that we've got this Flipper Nano out of the packaging, I realise it's actually a lot smaller than it looks when it's inside the packaging. We've got the little spacer there which just separates the two magnets in shipping. You can see the magnet cleaner, or the bit that goes on the wet side. You've got these little Teflon bumps there. We've got the soft Velcro side on there, which is a little bit different to the hard Velcro that I'm used to seeing. The blade itself here has got rounded edges, which is very important. A square edge blade is much more likely to scratch your glass. The rounded blades are much safer. Looks like this blade is replaceable. I'm not going to try and take it off though. We'll just leave it on there because I don't want to break it before I've even used it. But it's a very narrow and very slimline wet side for a magnet cleaner, and you've got that soft Velcro side, which is unusual. I'm used to seeing the more coarse Velcro side, so it should be very soft on the glass. Alright, so this is the external part. I'm just going to use the tape measure because the verniers weren't too keen on it. Now we've got 75mm long. We have about 12mm thick. Not that it really matters. And about 40mm in width, I guess you'd call it. So she's fairly small on the outside. Not that it matters so much, because this is obviously outside your tank, so clearance is probably not going to be an issue. What I will point out though is it does have this pretty nifty little grip. For something that is fairly small, you can actually get your fingers on there pretty well to give it a good clean. The part that does matter how big or small it is the internal part. Now, generally you want these to be as thin as possible because you want them to sneak past your scapes. And looking at this one, we're looking at about 10mm thick, which is quite good. Again, we're talking about 95mm long and about 50mm wide. So it is quite a small unit. It does have these little grippy bits here too, should you need to be able to grip it to separate them or do something else with it. I'm not sure if you want to manually do it with hand or something like that. But enough on the specs. Let's get this bad boy in the tank and see how it goes. Just before we get into the whether it can clean the glass well or not, I thought I'd just test out this flip action, because it's kind of a really important part of the Flipper Nano magnet. And you can see here that I was able to flip it over relatively easy. Now, in full disclosure, I did have a few practices without the camera rolling, but in the end, after about 10 goes of practice, I was able to get this unit to flip over from the blade side to the soft scrubber side without too much trouble. They say it is a lot easier if you do it without as much flow, and I was trying to do this pretty much straight in the path of the return pump, which I guess probably made it a little bit harder. But all in all, you're able to flip this magnet over from the scrubber side to the blade side without having to get your hands wet, which is really cool. Now, That's all good and well, but realistically, I'm only ever going to use this on the blade side because that's the reason why I bought this unit. I wanted to use the blade. So my glass wasn't overly filthy here, but there were a few points right along the edge, and you can see a little bit of a white line just forming up near the silicon along the top there that I just wasn't able to get off with the Waze magnet cleaner, and a few stubborn bits along the sand. Now, the Flipper Nano was able to get that without any problem, and I was also happy that I was able to push the blade part down into the sand. I mean, with a little bit of care, but not too much caution. I was able to do it fairly quickly without picking up any sand, and I was able to go about my way. Now, the magnet slid across the glass very, very smoothly. It's got nice, I think it's those little Teflon balls in the back, so there's only a couple of points where it actually touches the glass along with the blade, so there's very little resistance, and it is a nano magnet. It's only designed for 6mm thick glass, so it's not like this thing's got gigantic magnets in it holding it back, but all in all, it was fairly simple to use and operated really, really well. You can see it just cleaning off this calcification up on that edge there, which I just was not able to get. And you could also see the magnet go very easily around the corner on that glass, which is something that is also very, very handy because, I mean, most of the time we need to clean at least 3 sides of the tank. Now, I'm not going to bore you watching me clean the entire tank. I'll put that into a little bit of fast forward for you, and then we'll wrap up this review once the tank's looking nice and clean. All right, guys, there you have it, the Flipper Nano. Little cheap magnet cleaner. I picked it up for 40 bucks from a local fish shop. Probably not the cheapest one out there. I'm sure you can get $5 ones from the Sunday markets, or maybe even $10 ones from your big box store pet shops. But Flipper Nano, for a couple of dollars extra, it felt like a pretty good quality unit. I did like the blade attachment on it, very high quality. Simple to get the blade side out too. I always sort of questioned how easy the flipper part was, but you can see why they've built their name and branding around it, because it does flip over fairly easily. Even the non-blade side felt fairly soft compared to the hard side Velcro that I'm used to on most magnet cleaners. That had the real soft side, it's like spongy sort of thing. So I'm not sure how effective that would be at removing stubborn algae, but it doesn't need to be effective because you've got that really good blade on the other side. And I love the way that those little 2 balls space the magnet cleaner off the glass, so you're not going to trap any sort of sand or detritus in there while you're using the blade side. The sand will be able to just fall back out, which is huge because you don't want to be scratching your glass, getting sand trapped in there. It was really easy to use, seemed to do a really good job of cleaning the glass. I'm not sure what else to say. If anything, is possibly a touch on the expensive side, but all in all, it feels like a really good choice for the Idiot Proof Reef Tank. Does a much better job than the little Waze unit that was in there before. One last thing I will point out, I was very happy with how small it actually looked once it was in the tank. In the packet, it looked huge compared to the little Waze magnet, but once it's actually in there, the nice black coloring, everything blended right in, you don't really notice it's in there. Of course, you could take it out between cleans. I'm a bit lazy for that because I end up losing one half or the other, so I like to leave it in there. It's nice and narrow, gets past all my rock work. Happy days. Anyway, guys, I'll wrap the video up there. Just a really quick little review on the Flipper Nano. If you've got any other suggestions for magnet cleaners or other products you'd like to see me review, pop some comments in the section down below. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you have not yet, please consider subscribing. It's free of charge. It'll just make sure you won't miss out on any videos in future. And it also helps my rankings and recommendation of videos on YouTube. So I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, till next time, stay safe and keep reefing. Thanks. Bye.